It was about Jake, a child who deserved better than the hand he was dealt. I wasn't about to let him fall between the gaps. I spent the next day making calls and figuring out how to meet Jake. The social worker I spoke with informed me that Jake had been in foster care for several years. He'd been transferred between families and, reportedly, had behavioral issues. When I inquired what that meant, she referenced difficulty adjusting, acting out, and suffering at school. It did not surprise me. How could a child go through what he did without having some scars? The social worker was wary about allowing me to visit him. She said that Jake had trust issues, and that meeting new people could be intimidating for him. But, upon learning that I was a family member, albeit a minor blip in Jake's life, she consented to arrange a supervised visit. She advised me to control my expectations. A week later, I arrived at the foster care center for the meeting. My palms were moist, and I was constantly adjusting my backpack strap. I didn't know what I was getting into. The social worker brought me into a small room with mismatched furnishings and colorful peeling paint. Jake sat at a table and drew on a sheet of paper. His hair was scruffy, and he appeared considerably smaller than I had imagined for a 10-year-old. He didn't look up as I stepped in. I sat across from him, unsure what to say. The social worker introduced me as his aunt. Jake returned his attention to his sketch after a fleeting peek at me. His shoulders were slumped, and he held the pencil hard. I did not want to push him, so I simply commented on his drawing. He was drawing a robot, detailed and exact. When I complimented it, he murmured, "Thanks," but continued working. The initial meeting was quiet and unpleasant, but I felt an attraction to him that I couldn't explain. He didn't trust me. Why would he? But I knew I wanted to return. When I told my family about the visit, it went about as well as one would imagine. My mother rolled her eyes and told me I was overly theatrical. My father scoffed and said I was playing hero. My cousins laughed and joked about how much I would regret it. It stung, but that didn't matter. I was not doing this for them. I returned to see Jake several times during the next 2 weeks. He was always guarded, but he began to open up. I took him a sketchbook on one of our visits, and his face lit up for the first time. He adored drawing robots, spaceships, and superheroes. He was also skilled at it. When I asked him about his favorite movies, he ran off a litany of animated films. I made a mental note to watch them later so I would have something to discuss with him. He gradually began to share small aspects of his life.